Good morning, guys. Sorry, I'm running late. I got a lot to go over. Let me give you the fancy opening, and we'll go from there. Fine. Boomer doesn't have his speakers on. Hold on. Oh, there we go. There's a fancy opening. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me now? All right, cool. Sorry, I'm late. Apologies. I never really want to be this late, so apologies. Let me shut this off so I don't keep hearing these beeps, but thank God I heard them. I tried to do something today to cut back on time, and it just did not work at all. So, all right, let's go. So if we look at the ES, that's your point of control. And I drop this to the hourly. I'm marking that from this peak. So you keep fighting this, and then up here is that value high area. So I don't know that you're getting through this right away, and you're fighting this area. So I just want to show you it so that you can see how you're just literally riding that line. And then all you're doing with it, and this to me means you're going to, like, something violent is coming, because you see how you're getting lower highs and higher lows. So something violent is definitely coming. What that violence is, I don't have a clue. So I wouldn't sleep on it. You know, it's a concern. I'll show it here on the SPY. Let me drop this down and I'll show you what I mean. So this is how I say it. And no, they're not drawn perfectly. Someone's like, you're not on the edges. Whatever. Get over yourself. Oh, look how it comes down. Does that come the whole way down? Let's clone it. See what it does. I love when we can do stuff together. Again, I do apologize for being late. I never really want to be this late. Yeah, I'm stretching there, aren't I? I wonder something. Give me 1 second. Sorry, guys. All right, cool. So sometimes you'll see like a fork and it'll give you other levels. So I just wanted to see if I was going to get that or not, which I'm not getting. So what we want to do here is focus on those levels. Those levels are everything. They're absolutely everything. And you definitely want to pay attention to them. You don't want to sleep on them, like, at all. All right. I want to take this and show you from here. And I'm going to get rid of the pre and the post. And I'm going to show you yesterday. I went over this in last night's video, and I went over it yesterday with you guys because it's super important. But there you are in the SPY. 1, 2, rejection, gaps up, down, hits, rejection. So until you're through this, you have an issue there on the index side. And you have to be cognizant of that. Now, again, you're having these lower highs. It's not great. Came a long way in a very short period of time. I'd like to backfill, but you really got to be very cognizant of this whole area. And to me, there's a couple areas that you would watch. I don't know that you're going to get down to 670, but that's going to be huge. And then at the same time, you're going to have this peak VWAP, which is going to take you into that 670. And then as someone likes to say, but wait, there's more. And then you're going to go to here. Oh, look at that. So all three are in that area, right? So you would almost say that you have like a wall in here to an extent. It would have been way cooler if you worked when I clicked you, wouldn't it? So you almost have a wall in here to an extent, right? Where I don't know that you're breaking that. Like I truly don't know that you're going to break that area, but that's the area where if you got down to that, you would almost want to be like a net buyer, right? Like that just makes so much sense. Like, are you going to break the peak VWAP? Are you going to break the November 10th VWAP? Are you going to break the recent undercut VWAP? Like, you got to be real careful with VWAP because some people just use it for everything, and that's stupid. But what you want to do is use it for pain points. That's a pain point. That's a pain point. That's a pain point. This is where people sold when they should have bought. This is where they bought when they should have sold. And this is where they sold and put their stops foolishly and then had the market rip in the face. So you want to watch those areas, right? That's definitely what you want to focus on. And I really can't stress that enough, that that's an area of interest. So if we do the same thing with the Qs, it's a little different. And the one thing I would just tell you about the Qs, and I don't even have to get into like put walls and call walls because you're so far away from them. But the one thing that I would really just hammer home is from this level, that's Wednesday's close. But if you look at Friday's close, they had second thoughts on what they were doing. And you can see that right here. Okay, let's drop that down right here. And you can see their second thoughts. Like, what are we doing? And so they got out. So the people that bought on Friday were like, now where are you opening this morning? You're opening right into them. So did they change their mind? Do they feel better because of MDB, crypto not going to zero? I heard a lot of people saying they don't know why crypto dropped. Crypto dropped because people thought that someone that owns about 5% of all Bitcoin was going to be forced to sell. That's why crypto dropped. And that does not seem to be the case. So therefore, crypto should not drop. So that's how I see it. We'll get to that. There's a chart there we should talk about. So if I take a look at how this is playing out, I think you really want to watch this area like really closely because you got your negative divergence. You got everything right there, like into face. So you really want to watch that area like very, very closely again, because you rejected. These people changed their mind, and they changed their mind in the afternoon, almost into a dentist's favorite time of day, 2:30. So, that's institutions. So if we look at the market, what do we have? If we just think about it, like, what do we have? We have retail buying and we have institutions selling. That's not really what you want. You want retail selling and institutions buying. So I don't know why the change, but maybe it's because we're at that key level. So if we look at it from that standpoint, drop it down here like it's hot, and understand that these are your core levels, that's really how I say it. And I think that that's really where you should be focused on. A lot of these names look fantastic this morning because they're bidding up on earnings. And I do think that can continue, but I do think at the end of the day, you're going to have to be super careful. If we take a look at something like the NQ, and let's go to a 15 just to speed this along, and we just do something very similar to what we've done in the past here, and we just drop this right here, you're going to see that you are flipping point of control. And so that's actually really good, because it means that there's two things I want to go over with you guys too. So just, if I don't do move and VIX, someone just tell me at the end of this. So I do think that this is super important to get, because if you look at the NQ is flipping its point of control first. So what's going to happen is, this was point of control in the NQ. And then you see how as soon as you get more people in this area, the point of control drops. Point of control then becomes what? It becomes support versus a resistance. So it's almost like a ball under you pushing you out through the water versus a weight on your chest. If you think about it like that, it makes sense. So if we look at this in the past, resistance, resistance, support, breaks, resistance, 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 and now it's trying to become support and take us up to like that 25.7. So this would probably mean that you are flipping to a net buying position, probably with the system traders, versus a net selling position, right? And that actually is a fact. If we take a look at this area and go, all right, well, what do we really have to concern ourselves with whenever you're ready? It's so much cooler when it works the way I want. And we watch the peak VWAP, you're going to notice a distinct change in this chart. I think it's very distinct. Note how the S&P was all around like one spot. These are the hand signals for one spot, and how the NQ is spread out more. This is going to lead to more extreme moves in the NASDAQ, because you don't have people concentrated the same exact way. So if we're not concentrated the same way, here, just do it this way, okay? So if you're not concentrated the same way as you are here, I'm going to go do it to the Qs now, right? Then you can see that that's going to wind up being an issue. And I just want to double check this, because it just might be the pre and the post, and that might be it. So let me just see something here. Yep, it's just the pre and the post, but then that'll be down. Yeah, so it's still extreme. Okay, so you're still going to want to watch that. So you're still going to have way more extreme moves here, way more. I'm curious about something while we're here. Let's just see if we can drop this and see what happens. Yep. So the cash market is still below, but it's probably going to come back down. The cash market's still below it. That's super interesting. Just to me anyway. So you're going to want to watch that level that we just went over really, really very, very carefully. But the cash level is still under it, where the futures market is not. When in doubt, you go with futures, because that's more institutional, global institutional money. See how it's spread out? So I think that's leaning towards us getting back up to there. And you had great earnings today, which we'll cover a couple of those and then go from there. All right, so then the next thing we want to focus on is just going to be these names. MDB crushed. There's not really much value I'm going to add here. I know I'm going to be asked about it. The real question is, can it hold that? I've watched this thing open up 100 points and drop, a good 80 after it. I've watched this thing open up 100 points and go up another 100. So, may the odds be in your favor, man. I have no position in it. People killed it last night in the community on this. And they killed it in the community on this as well. In this kind of market, to me, in tech, a bird in the hand. I'm more like a bird in the hand kind of guy in this kind of market. I don't really want to hold this stuff. if I came in today and I was long something like this in tech, I'd already be gone. Just because of where we are position wise, I would not be holding. Now, whether or not you want to, it's your choice, obviously. But the idea that you're up like 80 points, 85 points in a day, like, what do you want? Like, what are you waiting for? It's just a matter of time before you're in a position where you're going to be going, I don't know what to do with it. APP, I do want to go through this. See that undercut right there? And then you ripped. You want to focus on that. Overall, if I look at the market, the stocks did not have to make a higher high yesterday, which it did. And I don't think a lot of people know that. I do think that's important. KRE yesterday looks like you're going to break out of a flag after you undercut and ripped. So then it takes like XLF, which is kind of rolling over. So the biggest thing for us is going to be looking at stuff like S5FD and seeing how much of that we worked off. So, and you worked off a lot, which is really what you wanted to do. And I went through this in last night's video, but you came into that 96. And so about 40% of all names broke their 5-day moving average. That's why just buying names over their 5-day moving average is such a bad strategy, because if all the names are above their 5-day moving average, who cares? Like, it's not really adding value. But if your name is breaking above the 5-day moving average when you're down here, yeah, it does matter. It matters significantly more here than it does here. Why do I want what everybody else has? That sounds awful. So you are working that off. I don't really think you have anything else here that you have to worry about. If you look at the 50-day, you're still above your 50. So I don't really think it's a long-term thing. I think it's more a short-term thing, and I think you'll get some stability there. The bigger stability that I was saying, let's not do it that way, because I'm just going to confuse the bejesus out of people. But the one confusion that I see out there was really on MSTR and a bunch of hoople heads trying to explain finance on Twitter, just confusing people that these guys would have to sell. It actually really seems like a very big coordinated attack, to be honest with you, against MSTR. I'm a big tinfoil hat guy, but I put this out in the community. I showed you guys this trade last night. We're going to do more trade reviews and more education. Maybe on Thursday, it'll be like education day or something. But triple bottoms, like, they're so rare. And they, like, the bottoms are usually put sellers. So they usually hold. The triple tops, they usually don't break. But the bottoms, when you see that, it's very rare for a triple bottom to like break, in my opinion. I just, from experience, you can probably go and do data on it. I know some people would differ and say, no, they usually break. Not when you're dealing with the puts. When you're dealing with the calls, yeah. The triple tops, yeah, they're scary. And they can. And, I didn't know that this was going to get through, but once it did, that was it. It was on, and I bought it, and, 15 points later. Also, the implied vol on the options on this is super cheap for you option guys out there. I bought calls and sold puts. I sold puts just to sell puts, but I didn't get that much from them. I got like $6 off of it. But the calls, I'm already up 100% on what I still have on. And the implied vol on the calls is still historically very, very cheap here. Everybody was on the other side of this trade. But I think that between the MSCI news that's out there, where some institutions have complained to MSCI that MSTR shouldn't be in there, they're trying to cause, like, why would you do that? Probably because you're short. You're trying to cause an event. What kind of event you're trying to cause? Everyone should really go think about that when they gave BlackRock control of Bitcoin, and said, they went from, we want to be decentralized, to please BlackRock buy Bitcoin. But whatever. Crazy how that works, right? From anarchist to corporatist. Anyway, if you take a look at this, I do think that that's probably a really solidified bottom, because they walk through how they don't have to sell Bitcoin. And if they do, it's 2 years out. So I do think that when people are saying, I don't know why it dropped and therefore I'm buying it, I would say, I know why it dropped. It dropped because people were worse that someone that owns 5% of it was probably going to have to do forced selling. And now they're trading at a discount to the market, and they don't have to do forced selling. And I wouldn't be surprised to watch them go out there and raise more money right now with them trading at a discount to their NAV, and just absolutely hose the shorts. That's just an opinion if you want to put on a tinfoil hat. I saw someone saying that it will not break down because it won't go below the cost of what it costs to manufacture one because of the futures market. That's roughly around that 74. Yes and no. I mean, then what happened here, Rocky? So I'm not really buying that. Anything can blow up and go to zero. Certainly something that is just based on air can. Beanie Babies have value until nobody wants a Beanie Baby anymore. So I know it's not a Beanie Baby. I know. Don't everyone get upset. But I think that when you're looking at something like this, that you're probably going to get more stability faster in this than people think they are. And if this gets more stability faster than people think it will, that stability is going to lead to more stability in the NASDAQ. That's where my head is. We'll see how the day goes. I don't have time for a lot of questions today because I started, short. So we'll go from there. There's a lot of ways to hedge Bitcoin. I don't know why people only think you can only hedge Bitcoin through MSTR. There's something called the futures market, and there's something called physical Bitcoin. So I don't really understand when people think, the only way to hedge Bitcoin is MSTR. That's not how I would hedge it. I would just go BITO, right? Oh, look, here's a Bitcoin ETF. Let's short it against my Bitcoin. Why do I have to hedge my Bitcoin? If I did, I would just short this ETF. It's so much cleaner, and I don't have to worry about any surprises or anything else. So, well, it depends. But I don't think that this is, it's no more ridiculously expensive than people doing this, trying to hedge it with this. Good luck. Yesterday you're short. How did that work out? How'd your hedge work out yesterday for you? Right? So here's your Bitcoin hedge and it's going great, right? Oh, I'm hedged. I've got Bitcoin. I'm hedged. Okay, there goes 7% off your Bitcoin holdings. That's a good morning. So I don't really get that. I hear that all the time. I think people that buy MSTR want the lever. I think that for me to buy it, it did exactly what I wanted to do to buy it. I want to buy my assets. If it's an asset, you think about it as an asset, right, man? So if you think about it as an asset, then to me, Matt, I want to buy the asset at a discount. So I never really understood why people were buying MSTR over 1.2 or 1.6. The guys like Chanos will short the hell out of it when it does that, and they're absolutely killing it. And then they'll go long when it's doing this. By the way, he won't talk about that part of it. But if you look at BMNR, these things, people were selling something worthless to go buy something that had value. If I can buy the same thing at value at a discount, why am I not doing that? That makes perfect sense. It's with this ETHZ, this one made so much sense to me because they've come out and said, hey, every time we break NAV, we're just going to sell the Ethereum and buy our own stock because it just makes sense. That's how I look at it. People would say you have to look at the diluted versus the basic, but the people that own the converts, the people that own the MSTR converts, they can't convert to MSTR stock because their portfolios and their charters are banks. They won't allow them. So they want exposure to MSTR, and the only way to get that is through the convert. He's actually really smart the way he created the whole convert market. It's all insurance companies that own that stuff. You got to see if it holds. You got to see if it holds. Right, but you either want the hedge or you don't. Do you know what I'm saying? You either want the hedge or you don't want the hedge. That's what I wanted to go over. Thank you. Thanks, dude. That's exactly what I was wanting to go over. Thanks. So one of the things that I just want to point out, and I think it's important before I do wrap it up here, I'm going to try to get to some more questions. You did not make a lower low yet on Move. Move has been the thing that's been imploding, that's driving the equity market higher. It's literally the exact opposite of what the equity market's doing. So if we go and take a look here, hold on, stay with me. Them internets will sneak up on you. All right, cool. So if you look at where we bottomed and you look at move and the implosion, and then you look, we went sideways yesterday. See how all of a sudden we upticked? So you probably want to watch move today. The other thing you're going to want to watch clearly is going to be the VIX. Oh, cool. There it is. Yay. And you can already see that the VIX did something very similar. Right. So just want to hold on 1 second. All right. So let's get rid of the S&P because this is just getting nuts. It's too much. So if we look at this, here's move and here's the VIX, but you can see the VIX actually made a higher high, and we have a higher closing high for the first time on the VIX. Since this started, you have a higher closing high on the VIX since this started. So, you know, you're at a level you really want to watch and make sure that you get through. I'm not saying there's not going to be anomalies. There's certainly going to be anomalies. I think MSTR is certainly going to be an anomaly today. I think some of these other names could really be anomalies. But, you know, you have earnings coming out on AEO, some of this other stuff. But I really think that, oh, look, there goes Wolf. But I really think some of this other stuff you're going to have to really pay very close attention to, the more macro stuff. So, you know, that's what I would focus on. Yeah, that's not where you're at, according to those sites that actually do the math. There's a really good one that actually does it. Like, I think it's called Strategy or something, Strategy Tracker. They actually do a really good job of it. You might want to follow them because they have all those names on there. What's up, Cav? I have no idea why you're up. I don't have a clue. I'm behind on this. I have no idea why you're up $10. Not a clue, man. I couldn't add any value to you, Kev, because I wouldn't know what I'm talking about. Stop, Brittany. I think we have to get to that level. Pardon me. I think any data is going to be important. What's up, Mon? Them internets. You should have the good mic. Or did it jump mics? No, I'm on the good mic. Yay. What's up, Len? Let's go through these real quick, see if I'm there. I actually like this NBIS. I actually like this name. I actually own this name. I think this name makes a ton of sense, but you have to do your work on it. I'd like to get above that 55. I don't know that you're seeing that yet, but I think you're going to sooner than later. That I do. I think you're going to see that. Good morning. I think steel's super interesting. I don't know that I have to run into it. Good morning from snowy Ontario. You guys are getting snow. What's up, Grace? I actually think that the MSTR makes a lot of sense. Go through all this, go to the end of it, and then I'm going to jump and tell you guys to make good choices. NBIS makes a ton of sense because if you understand why they're in the Netherlands and like why China is using them, it makes a ton of sense. When you really understand what's going on there, it just makes a ton of sense. I heard that. Yeah, you guys are supposed to get like a ton of snow. Oh, he does. He loves Dell. That's good. NVIDIA. There's not really much to say. I mean, you're going to bonk around. I actually had a short on yesterday and did okay with it. I got out before the rally, but I don't know, man. I'd be careful. Him saying he loves Dell, I don't know. I don't know what that's going to do. Maybe it makes it go higher. Who knows? I got to jump, guys. Trade to win. Make good choices.